So I'm with my dear friend Jeanette, and we're here talking about service as part of New Church Live. Service is a key part for us. We really believe like there's what we fight about, and there's what we fight for. We better get pretty clear about what we're fighting for. And what we're fighting for is service, a kinder, gentler, more generous world. Once every few weeks, we get together with somebody who's a leader in the nonprofit region in Philadelphia. And we have a little conversation, and we just call these conversations celebrating service, just as simple as that. And that's what we aim to do, is celebrate service, give folks an idea where they can plug in, where they can donate if they feel so called, and most importantly, to hear someone's heart who's in this whole service arena. So yeah, with that, I'd ask you just to give a quick hello to everyone out there who's watching this, and then I'm going to start asking you questions. So go ahead.
Oh, it's wonderful. Thank you so much for having me. Hello, everybody.
And tell us a little bit about this organization that's near and dear to your heart, kind of what they do, and what's the basic mission that you folks are trying to accomplish?
Well, it's Caring for Friends. We've been around for 45 years. We're one of Philadelphia, the region's best kept secrets, because all our money goes into food, quite literally. And as you can tell from that, we really worry about food insecurity. We have two main programs. We're a food bank. So we have a high school football field size warehouse in Northeast Philadelphia, including a 60-foot kitchen, which is, if you've been to Cheesecake Factory, it's probably the same size as Cheesecake Factory's kitchen. It's huge. And then the second big program is senior meals, which we hand deliver through a whole network of thousands of volunteers all over the 5 counties. So directly, now it's drop and go meals because of COVID. We're trying to keep people safe. But previously, it did include a caring visit. So every week, a senior would get their box of groceries and meals, and someone would hang out and play checkers or write Christmas cards with them, or do whatever, would help the senior feel good at the time. So those are the two big things we do.
That's great. And I know that caring is such a big part of what you guys are about, and as a pastor, I always find it really fun. Like you want people to get to know each other, get food involved, that somehow food becomes a means to an end versus an end in and of itself. And I know that food insecurity is a big issue. It's something we have to take a look at. And I wonder if you could speak a little bit more about the caring angle. Like, how do you folks really try to care for people, through notes and some of the other things, again, in this era of COVID where we can't necessarily do things face to face in the way we like? I know you have some interesting ways you make sure that the caring continues to go forward.
Yeah, so there's a couple of different things that we do. We changed actually our name about a year ago to Caring for Friends because it better embodied what is the second part of our mission. So our mission is to provide food and friendship to people across the 5 counties. So it really is both. And the friendship piece happens in a variety of ways. So the first is we're a small staff. We're now 11 people. Everybody else is volunteers. So we have a warehouse of like a Costco, essentially, or BJ's that we're running all the time. And most of the employees are volunteers. So that is part of it. So people come with their churches, their synagogues, their whatevers. They come with their scout troops. They come with their schools and universities. And it just builds friendship in those groups. So that's one way. The second way is that we have adapted to the COVID situation and are now doing virtual volunteer events, which is the Caring Notes, I think, that you mentioned. And I've had everyone from, 68 people from Blue Cross, the health insurance provider, to funny little groups of the pink and purple hat ladies. Oh. Or the red and purple hat ladies.
Yeah. Red hat's what they're called.
Yes, yeah, like gorgeous after 70, which today is a shout out to all the gorgeous grandmothers. Today is National Gorgeous Grandmother Day. So there you go. So we have folks helping out, and what it is a Zoom call just like this one. And everyone has a goal of within 1 hour doing 5 caring notes. And the messages are, you are strong. Someone thought about you today and is sending you love. I'm a friend, even though you haven't met me, anything like that just sort of brings it home. And for our seniors in particular, who get one of these in every meal box, When I've gone out and visited them, they're on their refrigerators because so many of our seniors are well into their 80s and have just frankly outlived, in many cases, their caregivers. They've outlived their spouses. In some cases, they've outlived their children. So they're alone for that reason. So they don't necessarily even have grandchildren that live near them, right? And we're a digital age now, so those notes really make a big difference. And then I would say the third thing, for some reason, everything comes in a trinity with me.
Easy to remember.
You'd think someone is guiding me. But so, and then, so we obviously, we have the warehouse and the kitchen operations, and we have the caring notes, but there's also just a plethora of people who within their churches are cooking for us. So a church actually has a freezer on their site, and folks have the trays at the front of their church, and they take them home on a Sunday or on a Saturday night, whenever their prayer services are. And throughout the week they cook, and every time they cook for their family, they cook an extra portion, they make a meal and they freeze it. And the next Sunday they bring all their meals and put it in the church freezer, and either that church uses them in their community to help seniors who are alone. Maybe you have a neighbor that just had a baby. Maybe you just had someone who's going through chemo and their husband isn't a great cook, and so they're kind of struggling just to keep up, you know, or they have a lot of medical expenses, whatever it is. So the church will use them for themselves, and we kind of provide the model and the product to do it. So the trays and the notes and all that, or they bring them up to our warehouse and we get them out to folks who need them through a whole nother, you know, network of drivers. So we have a lot of men who like the driving.
like to drive. Easy.
They
easy
like to drive. We have 3 Corvette clubs,
really?
which I find is really funny because the Corvettes pull up and they take the meals and the Corvettes go back.
Right. The coolest meal in town right there. Oh, that is.
Yep. Yeah. So volunteer on site, volunteer at home, or volunteer in your parish. It's kind of, yeah.
I love that image, even the Corvette Club getting involved. Yeah, you know, and as you're saying that, I'm thinking of Mother Teresa's quote, which you've heard, we've all heard. Maybe I say it way too much, but I think it's so beautiful and such, you know, speaks right to the truth of what you guys do, which is we can do no great things. All we can do is small things with great love. You know, and you know, that meal part is just, it's just a small thing. It's just a small thing. And I was talking about it with my wife, and how sometimes a meal can feel like so trivial, but you and I both know it's immense, you know, just that basic, it's not only the nutrition, but it's what that represents to people as well.
Yeah.
And Jen, can you give us a little bit, like the scale of what you guys do is a little mind-boggling to me, you know, as a pastor of a medium-sized congregation, and you know, how many meals do you guys get out in a day or a week, you know, roughly, if you were to ballpark it?
So I'm going to like show you something here. So I was doing a little back of the napkin math this morning because I was having a donor conversation. So I realized that right now we have 232 like churches, right?
Yeah.
And that times about 700. Some of our churches serve about 400, some serve about 2,800 people. But if you take the 232 by about 700, I would say right now we're helping over 160,000 households. So that was my back of the napkin.
That's a lot.
It's not small. And that's every week.
Yeah.
That's weekly. That's not this year. That's every week. That many people are getting food and meals and love and affection.
Well, here I thought Jesus was 5,000 was doing something pretty spectacular with bread and fish, but that is
yeah.
Quite,
but he didn't have 12 pallet trucks like I have.
No. So true. So yeah, I want to hear a little bit of your heart around this stuff too. And so what sort of pulled you into this line of work?
Oh my gosh. So there's so many reasons how I ended up here. It feels like those Oprah interviews where people will just start crying, you know? But so I was struggling in high school actually a little bit just to figure out. I moved around a lot when I was a kid. My parents were expats, so we moved 3 times in 6 years. And I fared pretty well because I'm an outgoing person, and I just kind of go up and talk to people. My brother was not as faring as well, but even I then towards the end of high school really struggled just to figure out who the heck do I want to be friends with. And I decided to do a service trip, and we went with my church to Portugal, and we helped build a schoolhouse
Mm.
in high up in the mountains, very poor region of Portugal. And just, that sounds really fancy, but like Portugal was like a 2-hour drive from where I was living because Europe's very small. Like you can fit all of Europe in New England, right? Like it's not, it sounds all fancy, but it was literally a bus ride. So we all piled on and we did that. And I met a young man on that trip who had, purple lips and was very sort of gaunt. And, and his mother explained to me that he had a heart condition and he had a leaking mitral valve, and they couldn't afford the surgery to have the valve replaced or addressed or taken care of in any way. And I have a leaking mitral valve. Wow. And I've had a lot of privilege in my life where I've had actually 3 open heart surgeries, and have managed to get through all of them because I've been blessed with family and husband and work to have healthcare and to be able to have what I needed. And this young man was not ever going to get what he needed. And there was nothing anyone could really do. And, we tried to help, we tried to raise some money at the school. And I think in the end he had like a repair, but of course I have no idea whatever happened to him, because I've never made it back. But it just struck me that, I have this chance. I have this chance. I've been given like a wild card almost. Mm-hmm. And so I should do something about that. So I always felt somewhere in my mind, and I thought, okay, maybe I'll do journalism. Maybe I'll do something else. Maybe I'll do, like you go through all that as a teenager and a college student. You try everything once. And in the end, I actually met a woman in grad school at a conference, and she was like, you know what, you got to come out and visit me. Like, I'm going to fly you out. We're going to just make a job for you because I don't know, but somehow something turns out she's Cherokee Indian. She has a Native American foundation called First Nations Development Institute. And she liked the fact that I was working on social and cultural rights of Indigenous children for my master's thesis. And so she hired me. She gave me a job, my first job out of grad school, just because I cared.
Wow.
Just because I was curious about, what was going on in people that weren't me, that looked different from me, had a different language from me, just because of that. And that set me on my whole path. She taught me how to fundraise. She introduced me to really high profile folks from all over the world, from corporations. And she taught me the difference between foundation grants and all this different really amazing. And I had a wonderful boss at the time too, who was their fundraiser. And so I would say those were like the 2 big formative events, meeting that young man and just realizing that I had a gift. I was given a gift.
As you were talking about that young man and meeting that young man in Portugal, one of the things I was listening to that I thought was very insightful was the idea that when we hit the valley, and I think we're in a valley time right now. I don't think people would argue with that in a certain way it can make our vision more clear, which is interesting, right? But it just kind of has a way of reminding us about what's really important, and I feel like we get those moments, right? And here's like the realization, like, oh, this is what really matters, in terms of what we're trying to do. And can you share with us, over the last 8 months, what was the best day of work you've had so far? And you and I sort of in our pre-talk to this talk, talked about like in the nonprofit industry, we talk a lot about it like, oh, I saw it, there it was, where we have these moments that kind of encapsulate where our heart comes together and our hands come together, and it's like, oh, there it is. And that's where we find moral joy, and where have you kind of seen that over the 8 months you've been there?
Oh my goodness, the it factor.
The it factor.
So many. I always describe that feeling as like the whoosh that people feel when, you've been trying something for a really long time and all of a sudden it clicks right? Like I had it once when I was rock climbing, and I really was not good at it.
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
all of a sudden my leg just sort of naturally found that foothold, and it was such an elated feeling, and I thought, wow, whoosh, there it is, you know. And I have had that at work actually, because it's, you know, work is life and life is work for me. Um, there was one moment where my board chair and I were doing site visits all over, and just to really understand, like, how do these folks work with the food that we give them? Where does it go? You know, and so we went into Nicetown, and it was just after the police shootings in that neighborhood in Philadelphia. And, you know, and there's a pastor there named Chantel, who's originally from Haiti via Canada. She has a lovely French accent,
Mm,
and she serves her whole community there, whether homeless, addicted, you know, the local daycare that's run out of someone's home, which is the only safe place kids can really be when their
right.
parents are working in that neighborhood. And just tremendous amount of work that she's doing. And we had decided to, you know, give her another freezer because she had the capacity and everything. And so what she did, we told her, and she just started crying.
Mm.
And you know, and she showed us everything we were already doing, and she was almost telling us, no, we don't need it, it's okay, we'll be fine. You give it to someone who needs it. We're like, lady, you need it. Like, stop arguing, say it. And finally, you know, I think my board chair sort of said, just say thank you, say
Yeah,
thank you,
yeah,
say
yeah,
thank you, you
yeah.
know. And it was just so, it's so amazing to see someone who's doing so much with so little, and then still thinking about how to help others when someone's trying to help her,
Yeah, yeah.
you know, almost stubbornly. It just was, it was wild. But she went from serving about, I would say, 13 seniors and a couple hundred families to 2,800 people. So the whole neighborhood is dependent on her for food right now because everyone's out of work.
You know what? And see, like right there, this is my little soapbox for a minute. Right, that's where we need to celebrate. Right, like that's it. Right, that's a great story of it, and that's so incredibly newsworthy and beautiful, and all those things. You know what? So thank you for sharing that. You know.
My pleasure.
So I'm sure we're going to have some people who watch this online, and some of them will be like, hey, I'd like to plug in and volunteer somewhere. So you and I talked about your website. How can they plug in and volunteer? Like, what's the best way for them to do that?
Well, the fastest way to see where the opportunities are online. So if they go to caringforfriends.org/volunteer, or you just go to caringforfriends.org, you'll see right at the top, it'll say volunteer. And you click on that, and you kind of can see there's a few descriptions. So you'll see about the work that you can do, you know, sorting and boxing food. There's a guest chef. You can come cook in our kitchen, prep. You don't have to be a good cook. Like, don't worry. Kitchen manager Abdul is great. Abs is wonderful. He'll teach you everything. You'll probably learn recipes while you're there. He's fabulous. The caring notes, I usually kick those off myself. So I love doing those groups. Some do it at 10 a.m. Some do it for a lunch break. Some will do it with their businesses as happy hour. So everyone's having a beer and doing caring notes on a Zoom call together. It's really fun.
Yeah.
Some do it for virtual family reunion. We've done that too.
So good.
And then, like I said, if folks are curious about helping seniors in their neighborhood, you know, we're always looking for drivers. We're always looking to help seniors in a church's community already. So if there are folks that could benefit and you want to, you know, tie them into our system, so, you know, there's people who are making sure they get it every single week and there's a system to it, we'd love to do that.
That's great.
There's a multiple ways, but I think the best first port of call is, you know, go online, see what there is, see what you feel comfortable with and what suits your fancy. But you know, I'd love to get you in the kitchen.
Yeah,
With
well, that's what I plan on. I don't know if are you local, Jeanette, by the way?
Yeah, we're all here up in the Northeast.
Okay, so, well, I mean local, like, did you grow up locally?
Oh, no, all over the world.
All over the world. So you never
This
like
is my local now. I've been here 7 years, so this is home. Yes.
I used to work at a you know, I spent a summer working at a famous big, large restaurant down in Wildwood called Ed Zaber's, which some of the people who are on this, who are hearing this, be like, oh, I remember Ed Zaber's from back in the day.
Oh,
So
cool.
I do look forward to getting to the kitchen, and I love the idea, right, of church, the idea of communion, and it's the same root as community. And I love this word as well. I just was telling someone else about the beauty of this word, like companionship, like the root of that word. Pan is bread, com is with, like companions are those you break bread with. And just that idea, that's what we're trying to do. We're just that simple gift of breaking bread with other people, connecting with them. And for those of you watching out there, I went on your website. It's super easy to find, lots of opportunities. They're a very simple website, which I so appreciate being able to navigate that easily. And the last question is, if somebody's like, I don't have time, but I have some financial resources that I would love to sort of throw your way, what's the best way somebody can donate to your organization?
The best way is just online too, I would say. So again, it's just caringforfriends.org and then /donate. You'll see the donate button up there. For folks that are concerned about cybersecurity, my husband's a cybersecurity expert, so he tells me to mention that we use Network for Good, which is a very secure online system that is managed, and Bank of America is our bank. So everything is very clean. So no worries. Every dollar goes very far. So we average that every dollar is about 6 in food and services back to the community. So it's a very good ROI for the business people.
Right. What I was going to say, with that small pool of full time and that big a pool of volunteers, that's impressive. That's
and our best donors actually come to our warehouse and work. I have to say, they really are. Like they put their money where their hands are. They're boxing, they're cooking, and it's so much more fun that way too. It can feel sort of arbitrary when you get that letter in the mail. But when you're there, and the other thing I'll just mention quickly that drew me to Caring for Friends in particular is that it doesn't matter what walk of life you're from. If you are someone who's food insecure, but you want to give back to your neighbor, all you have to do is come to one of our pantries, and you can pick up for your neighbor and also pick up some for yourself. Yeah. There's dignity in the process no matter what. I'm here to help others and, make sure that I'm helped and my family's helped too. It doesn't really matter. Our churches are in Kensington, but they're also, in Wayne on the main line, right? Yeah. So to me, that's what's really wonderful is that you said companionship, right? But everyone's breaking bread no matter their walk of life or color, and it's really fun because of that, because everyone is coming at it from so many different perspectives. There's never a boring day at Caring for Friends.
You gotta love that. I'm just thinking as you're saying that, right, that so much of our choices, are we going to be part of the problem, part of the solution, curse the darkness, light a light? Like we have choices here. And this is a great choice to make, a great choice for people to support the wonderful work you folks are doing. So I like to close with just giving you an opportunity to just offer a last word, just a last thought, a last whatever to those who might be watching this. So with that, what's a last word you'd like to put out there to the universe, Jeanette?
Well, you mentioned Mother Teresa earlier. I actually have a quote that I like from her, and I'm going to just mess it up. But the essence of the quote is that you never leave someone. Someone should always leave you happier than they came to you. And I think I joined this call today because I left happier after speaking with you the last time we spoke when we first met. So I thank you for that. And I thank you for leaving me happier today too.
That's
thank
good.
you.
That's good. Well, that's that whole moral joy. And one of the pieces, my last word is, and I think it's such a great place to live from, Jen. You guys embody this, is the idea that that's the joy that frees us.
Yes.
So that's the joy that frees us and makes the world a better place. So with that, just thank you so much. I appreciate you joining me this morning, and I'm going to stop the recording right here, and then you and I could just check in for a little bit, but wishing you all the very best. So
thank you. And bye everyone. Take care.